Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to wait for a couple of seconds while all of you stream into the room. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Canadian Immigrant web conference series that we're holding in partnership with Access Employment, sponsored by CPA Ontario. This industry-specific web conference for internationally educated accounting and finance professionals is being recorded and posted on our website to watch for those of you who cannot attend in person. So feel free to take notes, but also know that this is being recorded and will be available. So I'm thrilled. Let's get started. So I'm thrilled to introduce our first two speakers joining us to speak with you today. First, from CPA Ontario, we have Carmen Jacques. Carmen is a CPA and CGA and the Student Recruitment Manager with Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. Joining Carmen today is Patricia Gonzalez, also a CPA and the Director of Financial Planning and Analysis for Just for Laughs. So if you have any questions for Carmen or Patricia, feel free to type it in the chat by clicking on either the chat or Q&A buttons and typing them on the right-hand side, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. You can also email us at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. Before we start, let me just introduce our team. So my name is Ramya Ramanathan. I'm the editor of Canadian Immigrant, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Ricky Bajaj and Laura Jackman today. So thank you, Carmen and Patricia. The floor is yours. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Ramya, for that kind introduction. I'll just take a moment while I share my screen. And before I can take over, can you please confirm to me that you can hear me clearly as well as see my slide deck?
Yes.
Fantastic.
For checking, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ramya, again, for that very kind introduction. So, and hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to you all joining today's web conference for internationally educated accountants and finance professionals. And warm welcome to you again to learn how to become a CPA and unlock your career potential here in Canada. As Ramya pointed out, my name is Carmen Jacques. I am the Student Recruitment Manager with the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. I'm a CPA CGA, as well as an internationally educated professional, like all of you here joining in. I was born, raised, and educated in Mumbai, India, and have lived that first-hand experience integrating into the Canadian labor market. So if you had to ask me, what is that one key element, Carmen, that you attribute to your career success in Canada? I'll say it is my CPA designation. Why? Not only enrolling as a student in the program had helped me to get my foot through the door, attaining the CPA designation has helped me to get to where I want to be, bringing credibility and opening doors to opportunity. So with this, my goal and objective today is to help you make a very well-informed career decision. I will be speaking to you about what it means to become a CPA, the path towards the CPA designation, our professional education program, and the work experience requirements. By the end of my webinar today, you should have a good understanding of the various opportunities the CPA designation can create for you in Canada. You should also have an idea of how you can build on your existing skills and education, as well as the first steps you'll take towards your CPA designation. Now, all through the presentation, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions, just as Ramya pointed out. So please type your questions in the question box. Now, if your questions are really related to a very specific situation, right, your personal pathway, I will take that via an email. Okay, so just to let you know that. Or if I'm unable to answer any questions, we'll take them offline via email. So let's get started. To begin with, who are CPAs? CPAs are trusted financial experts and ethical thought leaders of Canadian business. We create value for organizations, economies, and society with integrity and courage. Now, as a CPA, you are a member of a globally recognized profession with a worldwide community of over 220,000 professionals in Canada and around the world. And many of these members are leaders in Canadian business. So just to give you an idea of the reputation of the CPA designation, about 75% of CFOs in Canada are CPAs. Now, CPA Ontario serves and supports more than 97,000 members and over 21,000 students in their qualification and professional development. Now that you know about CPA Ontario and our profession, let's discuss the benefits. Why would you consider the CPA designation? What is it for you? So a CPA designation is your passport to work anywhere. You should know that the designation will provide you with a toolkit of skills and knowledge that are in high demand by top organizations and to succeed in whatever role or position you take on. The vast majority of internationally educated professionals seeking employment in the accounting field quickly come to appreciate the career potential and credibility that comes with achieving the CPA designation. So the CPA designation provides both credibility and assures potential employers that you are both qualified and can be held accountable. To accommodate accountants from around the world, we have memorandums of understanding, mutual recognition agreements that allow accountants in good standing from other accounting bodies to quickly enter the CPA profession in Canada. So it really provides you with quick access into our profession. Now, when we say work anywhere, we don't just mean locations, okay? We also mean any sector, any company, any leadership role. Yes, this designation can take you anywhere. It enables you to turn your passion into your profession. You have also the opportunity to pursue the income that you aspire to. These are average salaries from our most recent CPA Ontario annual compensation report for 2019. And CPA saturation within these ranks is common. 500 plus Ontario CPAs are in leadership roles in the top 50 S&P TSX companies. As you see here, this designation sets a clear path to leadership in Canadian and global business. Now that you know the benefits of becoming a CPA, so let's go over them again. What are your benefits? You are in demand as a CPA. You have the skill sets that are relevant and sought after by employers. The designation offers you the opportunity to earn and above average salary in all sectors of the Canadian economy. The CPA designation can be flexed in any industry, manufacturing to tech, financial services to public practice. Credibility, accountability, respect. You have a reputation for the knowledge, integrity, and high ethical standards. You know the benefits now. Think about it. But now that you know that, let's talk about how to become a CPA. Each of your paths will be very unique depending on your work experience, your education, and your professional designations you've already attained. But no matter what your background is, we'll help you get on your path to becoming a CPA. So first, let's talk about those who are internationally trained accountants. That is, who's an internationally trained accountant? Someone who has successfully completed the education, examination, and experience requirements of a professional accounting body outside Canada and are in good standing. So for those of you who are internationally trained accountants, we have a number of different pathways to membership in the Canadian CPA, depending on your accounting body. So for example, the Mutual Recognition Agreement, that is our MRA pathway, Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU pathway, Recognized Accounting Body pathway, Reciprocal Membership Body pathway. Don't get too hung up with all these pathways. For you, the best way to determine your next step is to go to, it's listed here on my slide, it's cpaontario.ca/ITA. When you access this webpage, you'll find a list of all global accounting bodies, right? What type of pathway you'll follow and what steps you'll need to take. So for all our internationally trained accountants, please visit cpaontario.ca/ITA. Now, when you visit this webpage, if you do not find your accounting body listed there, then you would most likely fall under the category of members of all other accounting bodies, right? That's the very last pathway. Now, one thing you need to take a note here, right? That no recognition is granted in the program if your qualification program isn't completed. That means if you've started it and you haven't completed, you haven't been admitted to membership, you're partly qualified, there is no recognition given to you in the CPA program. So what do? Your next steps is to complete the program that you've started overseas and then identify your pathway into the CPA designation. Alternatively, if you say, you know what, I'm unable to do so, or I'm in a third country, or I'm already here in Canada, I'm unable to go back home for whatever reason to complete my program, whatever the situation is, and you've decided that you want to move ahead with the CPA designation, then you'll follow the path that I'll be talking to you in the next few slides. Okay, so now I'm going to be talking to you about the pathway for those who are not internationally trained accountants. That means you probably, in terms of your profile, you may have an undergrad degree, a master's degree, right? Bachelor's, master's, or you've got experience in accounting, or nothing. You just want to pursue the CPA designation, whatever that background is, right? You'll follow this path. So let's take a look at how to get the CPA designation. As you see here in that first rectangular block, we require 14 academic prerequisite courses. An undergrad degree, you're then eligible to enter our professional education program. It roughly takes 2 years to complete, right, on a part-time basis. At the end, you write the common final exam, and in combination with 30 months of relevant work experience, you become a CPA. So in a nutshell, to become a CPA, or the CPA certification program, that your path to becoming a CPA includes the academic study, that's the academic prerequisites, including CPA Ontario's preparatory courses with the subject area coverage, a professional education program, that's the CPA PEP, and the practical experience requirements. Now we'll discuss each of these segments here as we go through in the next few slides. So let's talk about the CPA prerequisites or the academic prerequisites that you require in order to be eligible to enter a professional education program. These are the 14 prerequisites that you require. Now, if you have these prerequisites, how do you know? Your first step will be to to submit your transcripts for a transcript assessment with CPA Ontario. We'll discuss the step in greater detail towards the end of my presentation, but here it's important for you to understand why are we completing a transcript assessment, right? That is that first step. It's really to identify, or for CPA Ontario to determine, do you have those 14 academic prerequisite courses in order to be eligible to enter the CPA professional education program. You will submit your transcripts for an assessment. CPA Ontario will confirm to you with via the results whether you have these 14 courses, right? If you do not have these 14 prerequisite courses, you can take them at any Ontario university or college as long as they are degree level courses. And of course, to confirm this, we do have a PDF document stating all the post-secondary institutions that offer equivalent courses in Ontario. So please visit our website. Okay. Alternatively, all these academic prerequisites that you are missing, right? You can take them through CPA Ontario's preparatory courses. But the good news, if you're taking them at CPA Ontario's preparatory courses, that you'll only take the courses that you're asked to take. That means you're going to be filling those gaps, right? And in terms of CPA Ontario's preparatory courses, again, they're offered on a part-time basis. So again, designed for you to be working full-time, studying part-time. Courses are offered online by weekly webinar. They used to be offered in person. Today, that in-person option is not available, but the good news is wherever you are, you can enroll in the program and start taking the courses. Why? Because prior, that's pre-COVID, the course, we did have an online functionality, but you had to be in Ontario to write the exams. Today, our exams are also being offered, proctored online. So irrespective where you are, like if you're even considering, if you're, say stuck overseas, and planning to land to Canada soon, right? Immigration ready, you can start the process and continue with the program while you land here in Ontario. So again, this provides you a lot of flexibility, a lot of choice. And as you can see, each of you will have your own unique path. I'd like to recap here again. The preparatory courses, right, are designed for those who need some or all of the academic prerequisites that are required for admission to the CPA professional education program. So you see here, no matter what your education discipline was, whether you have a background in accounting, finance, business, psychology, or sociology or music, whatever it is, if you are interested in pursuing the CPA designation, you'll do an assessment, you'll see what you're missing, and then you'll complete and fill the gaps, right? The academic prerequisites. So once you've completed the academic prerequisites, again, through degree credit courses or a combination of degree credit courses and preparatory courses, you are then eligible to enter the CPA professional education program. Now, this is the core of the CPA certification program. And this is a program that trains you to be a professional accountant. So let's quickly go through this, right? So this program, that's the PEP, is designed to be 2 years in length from beginning to end. Again, part-time, okay? It's not a full-time program. It's a post-grad program. It is a part-time program. So the CPA PEP begins with our core modules, Core 1 and Core 2, that provide professional level knowledge in financial reporting and or management accounting. The electives, that's Elective 1 and Elective 2, allow you to tailor the program to fit your very unique career goals, your career aspirations, right? So you can choose any two electives. In this case, the capstone modules, capstone 1 and capstone 2, are designed to build your leadership and communication skills, right? And prepare you, that's capstone 2, prepares you for the common final exam. Now, all the modules are delivered using a blended learning model. That means it includes online learning, self-study, classroom learning. There used to be a mandatory component of in-person workshops for each of these modules. Today, again, as I mentioned, and I repeat myself, the entire program is transitioned online. So you do have synchronous workshops virtually, right? The only thing that you need to be in person is to write the common final exam. So really, the common final exam is the final the final evaluation for the CPA program that evaluates candidates against the skills in the CPA competency map. So I spoke about the CPA competency map. So let's talk about what is that, right? So the CPA competency map describes the knowledge, the skills, the proficiency levels you must have as a CPA. So as you see here, it details two types of competencies, technical and enabling, really. So what are the technical competencies? We know all of them, right? Financial reporting, management accounting, strategy and governance, audit and assurance, finance, taxation. Financial reporting, management accounting are the key technical competencies, but you must also demonstrate competence in all the other areas. What about the enabling competencies? What are they? They are the personal attributes that make for a successful career. So you must demonstrate competence in professionalism, communication, ethical behavior, leadership, problem solving, decision making. As you see here on the slide, right, the solid orange, that is the enabling competencies. They round out the technical competencies to prepare you for success as a CPA. And really today in the real world, in the workplace, both are equally important. And you as a student in the program and a CPA are so fortunate to have both of that blended to prepare you for that success. Now let's discuss the practical experience requirements. So getting practical experience while studying is an important piece of your career success. And our program is designed to be doing just that. So before obtaining the CPA designation, all aspiring CPAs must have full-time experience through which you develop your applied skills. So the CPA certification program requires students to complete a minimum of 30 months of relevant practical experience. A minimum of 12 months of experience must be developed during or after the CPA PP is completed. The profession will accept up to 1 year of experience earned before registering with CPA Ontario. So this means if you have overseas experience or past experience, right? 1 year of that experience can be counted towards your 30 months requirement as long as it's relevant experience. So there are two options available for you to get your practical experience or your work experience. One is the experience verification route, and is actually the most practical route and most practical applicable route for you, okay, the experience verification. And the other is a pre-approved program route. I won't even kind of emphasize or focus on the pre-approved program route. We'll discuss both and I'll tell you why. So in terms of the experience verification route, your students gain qualifying practical experience through relevant employment. So that means here you can be working in any sector, any organization, as long as the work experience is relevant. Your students would work directly with the profession. So again, when I say profession, I mean CPA Ontario, okay, to assess if your work experience qualifies. So really here, the onus is on to you. So why? Because you'll be submitting detailed reports to the profession for an evaluation. And if it doesn't satisfy the requirements, you may need to consider taking on additional responsibilities, changing roles, or even employers if your current responsibilities no longer develop the required competencies. Now let's discuss the pre-approved program route. Here, the employer has worked directly with the profession, that's CPA Ontario, to seek approval for specific roles in the organization to train students. So these are programs that are offered by employers that allow students to satisfy all the practical experience requirements within the minimum term of the practical experience. So the pre-approved programs are monitored by CPA Ontario to ensure that the approved training program is being followed. Now, in either case, whether you're pursuing the experience verification route or the pre-approved program route, right, having an approved CPA mentor is required before we'll recognize experience. So what's the role of mentors? Mentors assist in understanding the values and principles of being a CPA and guide in the development of a student's enabling competencies. So those pursuing the pre-approved program route will be matched with an approved CPA mentor within the program. Those pursuing the experience verification route will have to find their own CPA mentor. But of course, there's a lot of support available to you from CPA Ontario to match you with a CPA mentor right through our mentor match portal. Now, once you are a student in our program, that means you have ongoing support for you and your career. So whether you are already in Canada, planning to move to Canada soon, we have many opportunities for you to get you a head start on starting your career. CPA Ontario's job board and volunteer board is our official job board, and it's your direct link to Ontario's leading employers, right? Just think about it. In my third slide, I did talk to you that we have 97,000 members in Ontario. Think about your network that you have, and these members are all leaders in organizations. So they are seeking CPAs or students in our program to fill opportunities within their organization. They post those opportunities with us. Online workshops. As a student, you have access to online workshops, webinars. It could be free, discounted, in person, right? Covering a range of topics through CPA Ontario's professional development network. So here are some next steps for you. For those of you who have still not landed here in Ontario, these are some of the documents you may need, or I would recommend that you start preparing while you arrive here, right, in Canada. Number one, we do require official transcripts of your undergraduate and graduate degrees sent to the World Education Services. So that means what's your call to action here? To connect with your post-secondary institution. That's your college, your university, where you have completed your undergrad. That's your bachelor degree, your graduate programs, right? To request them to send official copies of your transcripts to the World Education Services. Why West? I'm just going to hold on to that, okay? I'll talk to you in a bit. Since you're connecting with your post-secondary institution to request for official copies, at the same time, request a copy of your course syllabus, okay? It would also help to obtain reference letters from your current and past employers. They always come in handy. But most of all, right? keep in touch, stay connected with your employer or the individual that you have reported to um, in the past prior 12 months, right? We discussed under the practical experience slide, your past prior work experience. Even if your supervisor or the individual that you've reported to has moved on to another role, another organization, will be asked to validate and verify that work experience. So keep an email handy, stay in touch, stay connected. For all our internationally trained accountants, right? For you, your next step is to connect with your accounting body overseas to request a letter of good standing from your accounting body. Now, once you've made up your mind to explore the CPA program further, what do you do? Where do you begin, right? Once you made up your decision, so do your research, whatever it takes, and we'll kind of say, after you've attended session, you have more questions, I'll give you some next steps where you can kind of find those answers, but do your research. But once you've made that decision and that solid decision to explore the CPA program further, your first step will begin, as we discussed, is to find out how many transfer credits you qualify for in our program. If you recall those 14 academic prerequisites, how many of those do you need to complete to fill the gap so that you're eligible to enter the professional education program? How do you go about doing that? Your first step is to create an account with CPA Ontario. So you'll go to cpaontario.ca/sign up. When you sign up, it's probably less than half a minute it will take you. You'll have your unique login name and password, right? You will log into your account, and then you'll find a rectangular block, what we call Start Your Journey. You'll click on it. You'll start your journey. Your journey begins by completing a transcript assessment with CPA Ontario. So that is a transcript assessment application form. You'll complete it. It's pretty much your information that requires details about your academic history. As part of that application form, we require a proof of your legal name. So when I say legal name, it could be a birth certificate as proof of it, a birth certificate, a copy of your passport. There's a list, or a driver's license copy. There's a list of documents that satisfy our requirements. So we require a soft copy of that. Now I've written here attach additional documents, but today that attach functionality, attaching it to the application form, is not available, right? So instead of attaching it, once we receive your completed transcript assessment form, application form, and when is it complete? The last piece of the application form is payment of a $150 transcript assessment fee. Once you've submitted that application fee, a colleague of mine will come back to you from our registrar's office via email with a link, sharing a link to a file cloud, and will request you to attach your proof of your legal name to that file cloud, okay? So once you've done that, that happens 2 to 3 business days after your application form has been sent. So that completes the process from your end in terms of the application form. Now, what are we assessing? We are assessing your credentials. So we do require your transcripts. So as we discussed on the prior side, that we require official copies of your transcripts in order to complete an assessment. But what we require is a course-by-course assessment carried out by the World Education Services under the International Credential Advantage Package. So you need to connect with WES to request a course-by-course assessment under the ICAP. So in order to do this, WES requires official copies from your post-secondary institution, that is your college or your university, sent to WES. Now, ICAP is, because under the ICAP package, WES is able to send the transcripts that they receive, the official transcripts that they have received, along with the course-by-course assessment to CPA Ontario. So you've got to connect with Wes. You've got to request a course by course assessment under the ICAP. And when the recipient of that course by course assessment is the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, not CPA Ontario, Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. So once CPA Ontario receives your application form and the Wes ICAP course by course evaluation sent to us by Wes, your document package is complete. I'm just going to take a pause here. Today, because of the situation that we are in, right? The global pandemic that we are all facing in, our institutions probably are not working to where it really has to be in normalcy, I would say, like just similar to us, right? I'm working from my home office. Likewise, everyone else is working remotely. So given that situation, we are aware that it may be difficult for you to receive your official copies of your transcripts right away sent to Wes. There could be that time lag. So what we do have today is a temporary policy in place where we are able to complete a transcript assessment for you based on your unofficial copies. And what do we mean by unofficial? Unofficial copies means sent by you. So if you have your original documents for you, you can scan and send them to CPA Ontario to complete a transcript assessment, right? And how do you send it? Again, I said there's a cloud link that will be sent to you. You'll receive 2 emails. One email is for your transcript, proof of your legal name. Another email with the cloud link will be to attach your unofficial copies of your transcripts. Now, this is a temporary policy, but this temporary policy doesn't bypass the requirement of your ICAP assessment by Wes. We do require that, and we'll follow up with you for that if you haven't sent it. But in the meantime, instead of that time lag, you can send in your unofficial, we'll complete an assessment for you. And then when we receive your Wes ICAP, we'll remove the unofficial copies, replace it with the Wes ICAP assessment. Okay? So recap, once you've received your completed form, we receive your Wes ICAP, all your unofficial copies of your transcripts, whichever comes in first, your document package is complete. It takes us 6 to 8 weeks for us to receive to provide you the results. The results will confirm the courses that you need to complete and the courses that you're given exemptions, right? When you know the gaps, that means the courses that you've got to complete. Your next step is to register as a student in the CPA program and enroll in a preparatory course. Okay, so just wanted to, I did say that do your research, find out more and make a firm decision. On those same lines, we have a number of events that we host for you, like speed mentoring with CPAs on August 19th. Here is your opportunity to meet with other CPAs. If you haven't heard, very loud and clear here in Canada, we do, it's often said, it's not what you know, it's who you know that matters. It's networking is an important component. And here we kind of facilitate those introductions with you through our speed mentoring events, through our speaker series events, where speakers, just like as you'll hear Patricia sharing her story, there are other CPAs who are there who volunteer their time to share their experience so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take all that they've kind of, that they've experienced and move onward from there, right? Again, so if you'd like to have more information on our events, it's cpaontario.ca/internationally educated. With this, I do wind up our webinar for this conference, but you do have my contact information before you. Any questions beyond this webinar, happy to take them from you via email. I'm also available by phone. Either myself or someone on my team will revert back to you. Our customer service team is available for general questions, or say you're having issues creating an account or accessing your account or the transcript assessment application form. They're happy to assist you Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, more information is available on social media, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So this concludes my session on how to become a CPA. And again, thank you so much for taking the time, for joining in this particular event. And I'll be happy to take any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Carmen. And now I believe Patricia is going to present. So please go ahead.
Patricia, over to you.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a sec. I cannot share my screen yet, Carmen, because you're still sharing yours. Okay, thank you. And can you please confirm that you can hear me okay and that you can see my slides?
Yes, we can see you, but not your slides, and we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, all right. So what is going on here? Oh, I know. I shared the wrong screen, sorry.
If you want, while you're figuring it out, we can take a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. So we have a few questions that have come in, Carmen. So let me just ask you the first question while Patricia is getting her screen ready. So I sent the WES credential assessment to the CPA, but haven't received any response. How long will it take? And can you make any follow-up to my case? Very specific.
Great question. Thanks for that, Ramya. Yes, if you have sent your WES to CPA Ontario, and it's and I'm assuming here, and to clarify, WES has directly sent it to CPA Ontario because that is going to be the process. We do not have any way to receive physical hard copies. As I mentioned, we are working remotely. So the call to action would be World Education Services sending it directly to CPA Ontario. We have an online system which is on, so that should be the protocol. And then once we receive the WES as evaluation along with the completed application, we should be giving ourselves at least 6 to 8 weeks for you to get your results. If it is anything short of that or it's beyond that time, you can send me a note and I can kind of follow up with our transcript assessment team. But please allow 6 to 8 weeks.
Great, thank you so much. And Patricia, the floor is yours. And is that your little dog?
No, but I do have a cute dog though.
Okay, all right, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. So, as you know, my name is Patricia Gonzalez. I was born, raised, and educated in Caracas, Venezuela. I am currently a very proud CPA, and I hope that by the end of my presentation, you get a better sense of how it feels to get the designation and how the path works from a person who actually lived through the entire process. So let's get started. So when I first arrived here, I went to live in Montreal. And I have been in Canada for about 13 years now. And in those first few years, I think I faced a couple of hurdles that are pretty common to every newcomer. So the first one is that I found myself what I called networkless. So up to that point, you know, I had family, I had friends, colleagues, people that I went to school with. So I always knew somebody that knew somebody. And when I arrived in Montreal, I think I knew maybe 4 or 5 people, and I didn't have a lot of connections with the community. And as Carmen said, having a network is really important, but it's really important for 2 things. It's really important for your personal life to have a fulfilling life and create connections to your community, but it's also very important in terms of opportunities in the job market. So to me, it was very important to build that network from scratch. And what I did is I tried to do things that were maybe a little bit different for what I was used to doing back at home. So I decided to take tango lessons, for example. So I went things that I would not necessarily did before, because my intention was to try to have a broad network of people from all walks of life to actually, you know, get that sense of the community and the city I was living in. And then the other issue that I found is that, and this I knew before arriving here, but the thing is, I was pretty clear that I needed to start from scratch and probably, and I was kind of prepared to have a survival job. And I did have, I heard a lot of people saying, the hurdle of the newcomer, saying that the first Canadian job is difficult because you don't have the Canadian experience. And this is something that we hear very common among newcomers. It's a very common thing to hear. And the reality is it happens to everybody. It's just not the newcomers. If you are like my husband that was born and raised in Canada and worked for a number of years and decides to change careers, finding a job on your new field is going to be difficult. Or if you went to school here in Canada and you're trying to find your first job after college, it's going to be challenging. So this is not something that is limited to newcomers. But what I think that happens there is that we tend to concentrate on that narrative of what we lack, which is the experience, and we tend to overlook the value of the experiences that we had before. So if you're an internationally trained accountant and you had experiences outside Canada, those are still very valuable and you have to lean in. So for me, the key to this was to try to reframe my past experiences in a way to make them relevant for the context and the jobs that I was trying to apply. And this is something that you will find yourself doing for the rest of your career if you want to change industries or if you're applying to a job that is a little bit different for what you have been doing. So this was a good skill for me to develop, and it was really helpful. And then at some point, a couple of years after I arrived in Montreal, I got the opportunity to take a position in an amazing company here in Ontario. So I moved here. And that's when I had to start thinking seriously about getting the designation. So what happened is, as amazing as this company was, every single year that I spent there, there was a round of layoffs every single year. And at some point in the back of my head, I was thinking, you know what, my name is going to be called next. And what happens when I get laid off, how I'm going to find a new job, right? And it turned out that all the jobs that I was interested in applying to, they all require some form of designation. So I started to think, well, maybe I'm not putting myself into the best position if I don't have the designation. Then at some point, I also had a very interesting conversation with a headhunter. And while we're talking about my experience, she asks me if I have the designation. And I say, no, I'm thinking about it, And she goes and she stopped short from calling me a loser because I didn't have the designation. It was a horrible conversation. It was very painful, I'm not going to lie. But she did have a good point. She had a horrible way of going around it, but she had a good point. And the point is, if you have two candidates that have the same qualifications or the same experience, if you will, maybe the one with the designation is going to be more likely to be hired. And, and that was kind of the little push that I needed to actually do something and stop thinking about the designation and actually getting the designation. And the third thing that got me into this path is I recognized that having the designation was going to give me a boost. The accounting profession had changed significantly since the time I went to school, and having, a good update on my technical competencies was going to be a good thing for me, just to learn the new things that have come into the profession. And then it was also going to give me a good opportunity to build a network on the professional side, because I was back in Ontario. So I had to, my Montreal network was gone, and now I had to rebuild a new network. So the networking thing is a theme, I think, for me. And I felt that going into the designation and having the ability to meet new people will be good for me. So I take the plunge and I submitted my transcripts. And it turns out that at that time, the requirements were 12 requirements. If you remember Carmen's slides, she has 14 now. When I did it, it was a little bit different. So there were 12 prerequisites, but I was required to do 8 out of the 12. And I have to say that when I got my assessment back, I was a little bit upset because it's like, well, I have a bachelor's degree in accounting and I work in a finance related job. So I was a little bit upset about that. But here's the thing. I decided to enroll into the prep program and do it through CPA Ontario because it gave me the flexibility of doing everything online. And it also allowed me to keep working during the day, and it was going to be a little bit faster than doing it through university. So I enrolled with the CPA Ontario program, and it turned out to be the best thing that they could have done for me was sending me back to do those prerequisites, because I got a really, really good technical base that helped me immensely when I went into the professional program. Because when I made it to the professional program, I didn't have to think that much about how things work and, you know, how certain skills need to work. And I could actually concentrate on the application, on the professional judgment development, on the other things that are actually really valuable from the professional program. So that was a good thing. And this whole process for me took about 4 years. So it took me about 2 years to complete the prerequisites, and then the professional program was another 2 years for me. So it was a little bit of a long journey, and it wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie to you. The program is quite demanding. It requires you to be very committed to it. So for me, it was very important to know why I was doing what I was doing, what I was expecting to get out of it, and use that to lean into my network, you know, my support, my husband, my boss, and try to find what the compromises that I need to make this whole happen for me, because I was working full time. I have family, I have other commitments as well. So for example, I made an arrangement with my boss of not taking conference calls after 5 p.m., for example, and things like that. So, you know, you need to know that there's going to be sacrifices, because there's like a million competing priorities for you, and you need to know what your priorities are and work around those. And the other component for me that was important when I did my designation was the cost. So my job at the time did not provide any significant support financially to get the designation, so I had to foot the bill myself. And to me, what ended working was getting a line of credit and then setting an aggressive repayment schedule to finance the whole 4 years of studies. And my recommendation for anybody going through this program or thinking about it is do your research and find what your options are, and make sure that you're clear on what the financial cost and how you're going to finance it, right? Because then you don't want to be carrying a significant amount of debt after this if you don't have to. So my recommendation is to do your research. But after all that sweat and tears and work, you know, I became a proud CPA. I'm very proud of being part of this profession. And the biggest two takeaways from me from the designation are my toolbox. The program gave me an upgraded number of skills, and it also gave me the confidence to know that no matter what my career throws at me, I'm equipped to take on the challenge. So it was very fulfilling for me to be able to take on very, very large projects at work and see them through. And you know, I don't think I would have been able to do those if I hadn't had the training that I got through the program. So from that perspective, I think it was extremely valuable. And the last point that I want to share with you is, I think the CPA designation is an excellent way to future-proof your career. And here's the thing: change is happening, change is here. We can pretend it's not happening, but we cannot stop it. And once you get your designation, your education and your professional development doesn't stop there. Once you take your letters, you're also taking a commitment to be a better version of yourself and keep educating yourself for the rest of your career. And that is going to, as scary and challenging as change can be, knowing that you have the resources to be able to embrace the new and embrace the change will allow you to see the opportunities and carve a path for yourself in this profession. And I think that really doesn't have a price tag to it. So I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, please go ahead. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. We will get to the questions so we can take as many as possible. So the next question is, I'm a MRA with ACCA that has expired. Is there any help as to what to do? Carmen, this is probably a question.
Yeah. Thanks, Ramya. Yes. So the agreement with the ACCA has expired. It has not been renewed. So the most up-to-date information is available on our website. And I would kind of refer everyone to that source of truth. And next steps in terms of what is your available pathway, your ACCA is a member of IFAC. And so you are able to apply as a student in our program through the IFAC pathway, that is members of all other accounting bodies. So follow that path and into the CPA program. It's not a mutual recognition agreement, but a pathway as a student in the CPA program.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that. If we have ACCA or ACAEW, should we go through all modules in the CPA PEP? A lot of acronyms. I hope that.
Right. I'm not very clear of the second one. So again, depending on your accounting body, there are agreements in place for all our internationally trained accountants at cpaontario.ca/ITA. So if you're a member of I'm assuming England and Wales, the Chartered Accountants, I'm assuming now in terms of that acronym, right? Then what you would do is there is an agreement in place where you can get the CPA designation. So follow the path, read through it in detail, take the time. There are pathways for all our internationally trained accountants that are members in good standing with the accounting body from overseas.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. The next question, if we have more acronyms, if we have ACCA, sorry, I'll go to this. What if you had your credentials assessed by WES and you decided to do the preparatory courses in PSI? The assessment done by WES got expired. What will happen?
So WES assessment doesn't expire, right? So what would happen is you can send your WES is your international education, which they have assessed, right? So you will request WES to send that assessment to CPA Ontario. You have taken courses at a post-secondary institution in terms of the bridging courses, which is perfectly okay, but they are local courses taken at a local post-secondary institution. So send those official copies of those transcripts or request your post-secondary institution to send those copies of your transcripts to CPA Ontario. And your profile is complete. And you've got to complete your assessment, right? So it's best is assessing your international credentials. Of course, if you have taken additional courses overseas and that is not included in the WES assessment, then you've got to send those official copies to WES. WES will update the evaluation that they had originally done. So it's an upgrade to that, update to the evaluation, and then they will send it to CPA Ontario.
Okay, great, thank you. Next question. Well, it's connected. Is the WES assessment free?
WES assessment is not free. The WES does take a fee.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Is there any option during the CPA study to grant OSAP and other funding?
Good question. So we do have, in terms of OSAP is not for CPA Ontario, it's for more courses taken at a post-secondary institution. I definitely would request the individual to explore that opportunity if possible. But another great resource, and it's there on our IEP webpage, which I will put in the chat, right? We have funding partners that provide financing options, such as Windmill Microlending, Access Community Capital Fund, a list of them, right? Achieve has FCA and our Foreign Credential Loan Program that does provide micro loans to reskill, upskill, recertify, certify, right, for internationally educated professionals. So please avail of this opportunity in order to pursue your certification.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you for answering all those questions. Carmen did share the contact, so a contact. So if
I'm
you
also,
could,
yes, sorry, Rami, I've also put that link to which has, if you can share it across to everyone, it has everything, a perfect page for internationally educated professionals, which has all our resources, including our funding partners, available to them. I've just put it in the chat. And I
okay.
think it, yeah.
And Patricia, you've been asked for your email address. So, I mean, it's your call. You can either type it into this box or share it, or
You
it's
can reach me
here.
at my LinkedIn profile. Let me just share it with everyone. There you go. That's the link.
Okay, great. And do you have any, before we wrap up, do you have any final advice to share? Final words of advice.
Absolutely. So if I had to say,
Okay,
just don't give up. There is that light at the end of the tunnel. Go
okay,
for it.
great. Very optimistic. Patricia.
Be clear about why you want to do this and, commit to it. And the key comes down to discipline, right? It's showing up and do the work even when it gets hard.
Okay, great. Thank you for that great presentation, all great information. So let's go to our second speaker. Next up to join us on the Canadian Immigrant Web Conference Series for internationally trained accountants and finance professionals, being held in partnership with Access Employment and sponsored by CPA Ontario, is Kwok Fan from Access Employment. So Kwok is the coordinator of Financial Services and Leadership Connections program at Access. So if you have any questions for him, please feel free to type them in the chat. Or click on the Q&A button as you've been doing on the right-hand side, and we will answer them after the presentation. Or you can email us at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. Please take it away, Kwok.
Thank you, Ramya. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for allowing me to come and talk. Let me look at sharing my presentation. Sorry, give me 1 second. Hi, has everyone been able to hear me clearly and to see the presentation on the slide?
Absolutely, can hear you and can see the presentation.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so I'll just quickly talk about the agenda that I'll be covering today. So we will be talking a little bit about Access Employment and how we are able to help support. I'll go in and talk about some soft skills to succeed you in your job search and to build your career here in Canada. So we'll be talking about what are some of the transferable skills I think is really important. Talking about networking, how important networking is, and my advice on strategies on helping you succeed with your network. And then we're going to talk about one of the future skills that I think is really important to help build our capacity to move forward in our new age. Then I'll talk again about our access services with regards to the Financial Service Connections Program and Leadership Connections Program, and then Q&A. So let me tell you a little bit about Access Employment. As you can see with all the people on the screen here today and listening live on Facebook, we want to have a fully inclusive labor force that reflects the diversity in skills and experience of the Canadian population. Our mission is really to help assist job seekers from diverse backgrounds who are facing barriers to employment to integrate into the Canadian job market. We achieve this by providing employment services, linking employers to skilled people, and building strong networks in collaboration with our community partners. And you'll see some of the sponsors a little bit later here. So here are our programs and services. I'll quickly run through this. So our main program we have is Starting Your Job Search through our Employment Ontario umbrella. Here you'll get one-on-one job search support, job fairs, job placements, helping you with some workshops to kind of enhance your job search skills. Another area we can help is entrepreneurs who are looking to start your own business. For those that have children, we do have programs to help youth. And then we have programs to help specifically for women and helping them re-engage back into the workplace. One of the things that I'm really proud of here at Access is our mentoring support. So we have some award-winning mentoring programs, such as the Speed Mentoring Program, where you get to interact with professionals in your industry to build those networking connections. One here is the language and workplace communication or business communication programs. These are really important to kind of enhance, make us feel confident on how we go about communicating with others, as communication is such a key driver in the business world. And lastly, for those that are joining us overseas, we do have some pre-arrival and online services where you can get support prior to landing here in Canada, or access to our webinars, news articles, articles on job search on our eAccess page. Access is really known for our sector-specific program, and as you can see on the screen here, the different programs that we have catered to your area. So I know this is on accountants and people in the financial services, so I'll be directing you to our Financial Service Connections program and our Leadership Connections program, and I'll be talking more about that program a little bit later. So let's get into the idea of talking about transferable skills. So we all know about transferable skills. Basically, they're skills that we have learned over the years, and we can transfer them to a new opportunity, new role. Patricia mentioned how important communicating our skills to be relevant to the role that we are seeking. And I think that's really important in terms of the communication skills here. And that's what I want to focus on today. So what I find about the communication skills is we often overlook how we communicate in the sense that we take it for granted. We have spoken to people constantly. We interact with our colleagues, our managers, our customers, our vendors. So we do definitely take it for granted that we are all able to communicate clearly. Something to keep in mind when we are is that it does need to be focused and do need some preparation, whether it's going into a presentation, knowing what your key points are going to be, going to have a difficult conversation with a colleague, your manager. It is important to kind of strategize and work on that skill to help us so that we can grow and develop our career. The second thing I want to kind of talk about here is knowing the Canadian terminology and vocabulary. It is really important that we familiarize the accounting terms and terminology used here in the Canadian workplace, so that when you're out there networking, when you're out there communicating to your employers, that everybody is on the same page. Lastly, I'd like you to think about your target audience when it comes to your message, right? So who's this message for? What am I trying to achieve from this conversation? And again, put a strategy in place to kind of help us be able to communicate clearly so that everyone leaving the meeting gets something useful. Okay. The next thing I'd like to kind of talk to you all about is networking. We all know how networking is so important when it comes to our job search and our success in career development. So here I am going to share my tips on what I think the 3 stages of networking. And I think I put it down to 3 stages because I find with my years of experience on working in this industry that everybody loves to connect with the stage 3, hiring managers and directors. But I find that sometimes when we are going and meeting with those individuals, I feel that sometimes we're not ready in terms of having that conversation to be able to fully express our skills and experience that we have to offer. And to me, networking really helps us to get to the job that we really want here in Canada, very similar to what we've had back home if we've done networking correctly. So let me go through this different stages. So stage one. So stage one I call is the research stage. So this is where you're doing your preliminary research, understanding the work that you do here in the Canadian market, right? So you have lots of experience overseas. In the previous role, you want to start now to take a look and what position are you seeking? What skills are they looking for? What qualifications are they looking for, right? Do they require you to have your CPA designation? Have they require you to start your CPA designation? So all these are really important that we do need to research, and we can research this by looking at the various different job boards and job forms. But one of the things when it comes to networking is reaching out to contacts who are in the job that we're looking for or one step below the job that we're looking for. I think is really important. So that way, when we are researching and communicating with these individuals, we're getting that primer. We're getting all the questions out of the way so that we're not going to the hiring manager and asking questions of, what are some of the skills? What do you do? What's important? We are researching the role. What do people do here? What are the challenges that people have when it comes to this, so that we have a better understanding and a broader understanding of the market here in Canada. And to me, that is one great way here for us to get that Canadian experience that we all hear about. It is not about having experience in the Canadian market, but it's more of understanding the Canadian market and where you fit in with your skill sets and apply to what's available. So that's stage one when it comes to your research. Stage two. So now it's kind of making more meaningful connections. So now we are reaching out to individuals who are working in the same level that we are looking to attract, but now we're having a conversation just like we are having a conversation now with our previous peers or people in our industry back in our home country. So we are on that same level because now we have an understanding of what is the work that we're looking for, what are the requirements the role is looking for, but now we are expressing and sharing tips and suggestions of maybe how we've had that experience before, how we've overcome some of those challenges that maybe they're currently facing, and understanding the trends that are currently having. So you are making those meaningful connections that you can make impact and build a meaningful relationship so that the other person feels, hey, Kwok, you absolutely know the industry here in Canada. You have the skills and experience already. You know what to go after. Let me see if I can refer you to my manager or my director. So that now leads me to stage three. So stage three. So connecting with a hiring manager. So here I leave it to the last stage because this is kind of like our final stop when we want to move forward with the networking and getting the job after this. So when we are connecting with the hiring manager, we first need to showcase what are our strengths that we can do that is going to be valued within their department or the job that I am seeking within their department. So to be able to kind of relate the skills and experiences that would matter to them. And hopefully we've done that research within stage 1 and 2. The next thing that you want to kind of talk about when you are meeting with those hiring managers is kind of prepare an outline, right? Make a presentation. I've heard some who've written a report of their findings that would help the hiring manager so that they can really understand your skill sets and what you have to offer. This will make a great impression because these hiring managers and directors are always looking for talent, but you need to make it communicate to them that you're the right person that can help them move forward in their business process. So it's having that conversation. And once you have that, then the rest of the job search process should be fairly easy. They'll connect you to HR, tell you apply, and hopefully now that you've already connected with the hiring manager, they have a better sense of what you're looking for and what you can offer. So hopefully speed through that job search process. So those are my 3 stages of networking. I hope that really helps, because I think it's really important to strategize and look at what level I am in before moving on to the next, so that when we're having those conversations with those individuals in different organizations, we're making meaningful contacts as we go through. So next, I want to kind of talk about future skills, and these are skills that will really help us move forward in our career and in the workplace. As you know, from what has happened with COVID, things had to change really quickly, right? And people had to adapt and start looking what the next things are. So here are some future skills that I have on the screen, but I want to talk really about the last one here, talking about critical thinking and change management. So what is that? So to me, what's really important about critical thinking and change management is the ability to collect and process information and knowledge, right? So that's the critical thinking part. And then looking at taking into account other people's opinions and viewpoints is also really important. And I'll apply that together and think of like, how can we think of a creative way moving forward? How can we move forward and change the different process? And that kind of comes in and ties in with change management. As you know, technology is coming and it's here. Processes are getting more efficient, different ways of doing things. I think it is really important, and employers are looking for people who have the ability to change processes, learn new things, adapt to new systems, think of what are better ways to be able to do things that we have done in the past. So I think moving forward with technology, this is a critical skill to really help us move forward in our job search and into our career. I think one of the questions some of the organizations do ask is, tell me about your time with change management and what was that experience like? Because it's all about adapting to the new environment that we're in, just like what we are going through during the pandemic. Okay, so now I want to kind of talk about the 2 programs that I think most of the audience is really interested in learning about. So one of them here is our bridging program called the Financial Service Connections Program. As you can see, the program is 6 weeks in length. You might be looking at that saying, wow, 6 weeks full time, is that something I really want to commit to? But after taking the program, and I can almost guarantee you this, is that you will say 6 weeks is not enough time, because you don't realize yet what information that is given to you by our employment consultants to really help give you a gauge of what's out there in the market and what strategy we should implement when it comes to our job search. We run these programs in our Toronto, Mississauga, Brampton, and Scarborough office. But due to the pandemic right now, we are offering these programs and services online. So the program components, so what's in there? So we've connected with Ryerson University to kind of help provide some training on workplace culture and communication. Here you kind of learn a little bit about some aspects in the workplace to help us communicate that in a way of the Canadian market. So this will be maybe similar or different depending on where you're from, and help you kind of gauge and not only keep and maintain your job once you've found that employment, but to enhance and grow your career here in Canada. We have an aspect on the Canadian economy that will, again, give you kind of an idea of where the economy is, where is it growing, some ideas on different trends here moving forward. We do have pre and post hire support. So again, helping you to find that employment, but also once you have found that employment, giving you some support as well, just in case that you're having some challenges in the workplace. And I feel like that could be something where you just need a refresher of what you learned in the program or a particular case. that can help. I remember I had a call not too long ago of people asking for that support and really helping them transition to make a situation for the better in the workplace. Like I was talking earlier about future skills, critical thinking and creative problem solving are great critical skills for the future, and we provide that. And then, of course, we have those employer connections everyone's looking for. So we have guest speakers coming, alumni coming in from the previous groups to pitch panel, speed mentoring, track mentoring partnership program, job fairs and recruitment events. And then during the program, we will help you prepare for your job search, right? So helping you with resume writing, giving you feedback, preparing you for interviews, helping you with mock interview practice, using online hiring tools like Spark Hire, right? Helping you with creating and drafting a LinkedIn profile, how to network effectively. And again, most importantly, understanding the Canadian culture. The program fee for this program is $500 plus HST. And the program is fully reimbursable through the Ontario Bridging Participant Assistance Program. So Leadership Connections is very similar. The only difference here, I will say, is this focuses on leadership training. So we have Humber College coming in and provide leadership training to critical acts of leading and managing in a Canadian context and digital talent. Most of the people who are interested in the leadership connections should have a background in a more senior level role, so manager and above. So here are some of the eligibility is to be internationally trained professionals, have a bachelor degree here in equivalent to one here in Canada through either World Education Services, ICAS, just to name a few. No relevant Canadian experience, a Canadian level language benchmark level of a level 8, or an IELTS level of 7. If you are a citizen, permanent resident, convention refugee, or refugee claimant with at least a work permit of at least 1 year. And the difference for leadership, we added 2 years of experience outside of Canada versus 1 for the financial services, MBA preferred, and again, senior level roles. So worked in senior level roles in manager or executive director level roles and above. So here are some of the upcoming program dates. So all this is on our website, and we will have shortly the information sessions for some of the dates there as well for you to attend. And you can find this on our website, and I'll be linking the links in the chat shortly. Okay, does anyone have any questions and answers?
Yes, that was very informative, and that's like a lot of great information that you shared. Just to remind everyone, if you didn't take notes, this presentation is going to be available on our website, the recording of this event. So the first question is, I've been in Canada, sorry, I don't have my screen on. Okay, here goes. I've been in Canada for 1.5 years. I have 13 years experience in banking, including 3 years in accounts. Now I am looking for banking/accounting jobs. Where would you recommend that I start?
So I will give my contact information, so you can definitely contact me to know a little bit more, because it is a little bit broad. You know, there are lots of opportunities for you to work, whether in the banking or in the accounts department. One thing I will say is look at your experience, right? What is the most relevant experience that you've had that are related to banking and finance, and see, okay, what are those opportunities here in Canada? So there could be a number of different roles that you can play, right? Some of the hot ones, of course, right now that comes to my mind is anything in anti-money laundering is pretty big. So anything in compliance Could be a lot of different roles. There's always hiring for retail banking if you're looking into that sales career, and of course accounting. But again, it really is, to me, I always say not what's available, but let's take a look at your skills and experience and see, okay, where can you fit? And I think that's what's important here is not just blindfolding, okay, someone told me to go to this role, but it's more of what are my skills, what can I contribute, and what's kind of relevant to those skills that I have and experience that I have to the market here in Canada. So if you want to shoot me an email a little bit later, we can definitely talk a little bit more about your current situation. But thank you for the question.
Great, and thank you for sharing your contact. So our next question is, any advice for virtual job interviews? I find it hard to get past the screen in my, well, I guess they mean screening. I find it hard to get past the screening with my English not being perfect.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I was facilitating the financial service connections, and one client comes to mind where their language skills they felt was a little bit lower than their classmates. And to be honest, they were one of the first ones to get a job. And the thing that I will say is preparation is really key. You may have heard that before, but to me, preparation is first understand what are the questions that are going to be asked. Analyze the job posting that we have, that you have. Take a look at what skills and experience. From there, you can actually tell a lot about what type of questions, because at the end of the day, they want to know, how can you do this job? What are your strengths to do this job? What are the challenges that you can face doing this job, and how have you overcome it? So if we kind of have a broad idea of what questions could be asked, then we can prepare ahead of time. And by preparing, we would then practice. And when I say practice, we are recording or writing down our answers. We are recording ourselves to make sure that we are communicating what we want to say. And by that, then you're going to bypass the screening questions or any interview questions, because you feel very confident knowing the questions that's being asked and that you have prepared the answer already.
Great, thank you. I'm going to follow up with a question that comes up a lot. Okay, you get through the interview, your English is limited, you get through it, you practice. What about when you're in the job? So I know this is like probably a long answer, but if you have 30 seconds, what happens then? How do you get more practice once you have the job?
So I think there are a lot of courses out there that can really help us, and we have to look at where our communication is. So is it just the regular conversation? Is it a technical conversation? Is it report writing? Is it presentations? And each of those areas of communication, there are courses out there that can help, right? To me, Toastmasters is a great one. We definitely have some other workplace communication. So we partner with Ryerson University. So they have a great workplace Canadian culture communication program. There are enhanced language training programs that are out there as well that can help support. And you know what? I also find meetup groups. I don't know, no one really thinks about this, but just meetup groups of something that you're interested in. It could be business related or accounting related topics, but it can also be for hobbies. And here I feel everyone's very supportive because you have a common interest. And from that, you're just practicing in the conversation and building up the confidence. And that's really what's key, is when I'm talking to people and they say, they have some, they feel their communication's not strong or their language skills not strong. And I say, it's not that, it's just building that confidence in communicating.
Great, thank you for that very comprehensive answer. So we probably have time for another question. So is Access only available in Ontario, or is there an equivalent in Alberta?
So unfortunately, we are only located right now in Ontario. But if you want to shoot me an email, again, I will have my contact on the screen in the next couple of slides. I can refer you to see, I can try to find out what other services was it Alberta that is available.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to ask one last question because this comes up a lot. It's a question from somebody in Russia. I have 9 years in retail banking. How hard is it to find a job in Canada from abroad?
I think now that we are moving on the space of kind of interviewing virtually, I think it is important to have strong interviews, but I think it's fairly easy in terms of seeing about getting that opportunity. One of the concerns that they will have is, are you planning to move to Canada? Right. So I think that's kind of the number one step. I would say if you are planning on moving from Russia to Canada, is to start connecting with people in the banking industry. Know when you are looking at immigrating into Canada, because they won't be able to start that process until you have all the immigration documents. So once you have that, then start talking to people. Connect with people on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a great source, especially of people in our community, so that they know what we're going through, and hopefully building those connections can lead to an interview.
Thank you, Kwok. If you have more questions, please do send it to info@canadianimmigrant.ca, or our speakers have already shared their contact. Sorry, we cannot get to the rest of the questions. We'll just wrap up. So thank you, Kwok, and thank you, all of you, for the Q&A. And of course, thank you for attending our web conference series that we've presented in partnership with Access Employment, sponsored by CPA Ontario. Special thanks to our speakers, Carmen, Patricia, and Kwok, for joining us today and sharing your skills and expertise with everyone, and your personal stories. Thank you for that. So if you missed anything, this web conference will be posted on our website, and you can rewatch it or share it with your friends or others that may find it useful. And once again, if you have questions, you can email us at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. So thank you, everyone, and take care.